Good morning. So, as the video title suggests, I got something to say about awkwardness. So, some of my friends, some of people that I know, loved ones, sometimes come to me and be like, what do I do about social awkwardness? So, I am awkward. I find it really hard to talk to people, social anxiety, yada, yada. And I just want to say something about this because I have experienced it extensively. So, I have had a lot of awkwardness in my life. I have been in situations where, I mean, I have had a really kind of life where it was not easy for me to develop social skills, and this really where it really comes down to. So, especially in these days, you got a lot of kids, being on social media, on their phones, on their screens, and so they don't get to interact with as many people. So they grow up without this skill, and this is really what it really comes down to. So it is one of those things. It got a one answer and one answer only, and basically to just practice it. I mean, it's easier said than done. Just gotta go around and talk to people, and it's gonna suck. Your heart rate is gonna shoot up. You're gonna look bad. It's gonna happen over and over and over. And by the way, just by me talking about this, I do like to mention something. So that so there is this reality which to the brain malleability. So it's basically when a child is still little, their brain is more adjustable. So this is what makes the child learns faster, easier. It makes them more teachable. As you grow up, your brain, the frontal cortex, it kind of becomes more fixated, meaning that you cannot learn as easier. So basically skills like that, like conversations, if you did not learn them real good from a young age, it becomes harder to learn at a later age. So, like, as an example, if we would if it would take you to learn that in 6 months, let's say at 10-year old, it might take you 1 year at being a 20-year old. At 30, it might take you 3 years to reach the sort of skill in conversation and dealing with people. So the time to learn something such as the skill of conversing with people, it would take longer as you go, as you age, right? So yeah, so this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about, that because I know a lot of people these days, they have these sort of issues, like they feel not as comfortable talking with people, this and that. And just to whoever person that would need to hear this, you just gotta go and like just do it. There's no way around it. You know, there's no tricks. There's no shortcuts. You just gotta go and talk to people, and it's gonna suck, but you're gonna need it. You have to do it. There's no other way around it. So if you're out there, you're struggling with that, I want you to know that you're not alone. A lot of people are going through that, and it's not embarrassing. You kind of sometimes hear these influencers or certain type of people who would make you feel like you're an embarrassment, like, you can't do this and that, where you're just like still a little kid. I can do this and that, and I'm rich and I'm wealthy and I did all of these feats. Well, everybody got to start somewhere. And most of these people, they might say, I came from down, well, I was really unlucky and I made it through. I also want to say something about that. So many people, when they speak about if they have had it lucky or unlucky, they speak in like wealth per se. I was not wealthy. My father left me when I was young. I had a dysfunctional family. I came from the streets, yada yada, right? Now, what people don't take into blessings, like, you could have a really good brother. You could be in a situation where you're learning skills, right? Some of us did not have these blessings, not everybody, have been in a situation where they could learn to talk to people or to do business or to do any of the various skills, either by it could be an environment thing, or it could be even a genetic thing. So like genetics makes people predisposed to certain things, right? So there are some people who are genetically predisposed to be more socially awkward, or to not be good at selling things, or all sort of things. So I just want to make this into consideration, and I just want to set this straight. It is a time in the human society and in the human history which is becoming harder and harder for people to meet in person, for people to build skills. um, it is becoming a kind of situation. So you know somebody could ask a question, right? Which life is better for like a lion, or like really any like kind of animal? Is it in a zoo, or is it in the wild? I don't know, I've not read the statistics, but it could be that a lion would live longer in a zoo. But here's an interesting study that I have read about once. So as it goes, they compared, the heart rate, and the physiology, and what is happening inside of a lion's body in a zoo, comparing to lions in the wild. And then and then compare that with like how humans, heart rate and stuff like that. And so what they found is that lions that live in a zoo have anxiety. Isn't that interesting? So lions or other animals that live in the zoo have anxiety. What does that tell you? That tell you that you know um, the society that we are in. You might be safe, you might be controlled, like you live in a controlled environment. You don't live in the wild, you're not in danger. But is that optimal? So I don't want to talk too much about this, but it's basically that how the society is now, that they make you into a really comfortable prison, right? So, your jobs, you got to go to jobs every day, you come back home, you barely have time. You live in a way that is really controlled, sort of like a zoo, you know? You don't live as freely, you don't eat things as naturally, you know? And so, I just want to put that out there, to all of the people who feel like, you know, they have been, like people just talking down on other people, like, I've made it from the scratch, blah blah blah. What did you do in your life? This is not, um, an accurate way of looking at things. Most of the people who made it from the scratch have had other advantages that help them along the way. They might not think of them as much. Maybe just a good brother, maybe being smart, maybe being in an environment where it encouraged them to learn certain skills, and you did not have access to that. Maybe you've been raised in a household where it's abusive, or your parents allowed you to just be on your phone or screens, and you don't learn crap, you don't learn anything. And then you were like, 25, or you were 22, and you're like, oh my goodness, I have not learned a dang thing. I don't know anything about anything. And as I explained prior, it would take you even longer to even learn some of the stuff, that the basics that somebody could have learned at 10-year-old, at 10 years, at 12 years, and you were just starting to learn that at like 22, which would take you longer. It would take more energy from you, it would take more effort from you. And so I'm just here to say that there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong to start, but you just gotta. So if you want to reach somewhere, you just gotta do it. But you have to not listen to those people who kind of twist how the reality is to make you feel like they're a lot better than you, or like you're a loser. It's kind of the opposite. You're the one who like have been. You are the person, like if you are at like in your 20s and you have social anxiety, you don't have as many skills, you're trying to do something with your life and it's really hard, you're stuck at a job, trying to scramble, do here and do there, and you can't get to it. You're at the disadvantage of position, not them, not the person who made it. You're the one who kind of who should be praised for trying, who should be praised for doing your best in this sort of society, in this sort of environment, which you know doesn't allow anybody almost to do anything. you know and the world is more nuanced, and there are a lot of factors that would be for each individual. But yeah, I just wanted to put this video out there who have social anxiety, who have awkwardness, that there's nothing wrong with that. Technically, you have been put in a bad place. You know, the only way to go about it is just to confront it, which could take a while. And it's painful. It's more than so. This is a funny thing. Let me tell you something. So I have jumped out of a plane. I did skydiving, right? And unironically, this has been not as scary sometimes. So this has been less scary than, let's say, facing a person and talking to them sometimes. This is how bad it could be. Could be that bad. But so for somebody who have never experienced that, they don't get that. They don't understand it. They'll be like, what you mean is harder than jumping out of a freaking plane in the sky? Well, it is, because unfortunately, I did not learn that growing up. I did not have all the resources and the factors that allowed me to have this basic skill that apparently you had. Right? So it's just a video. I want to put that out there for anybody who likes to hear about this, because this is not, because how things are going right now. That everybody is like, influencers and stuff, just kind of show all the good sides of them, and they tell you that they came from the scratch and they had it worse than you and they made it and you did not. It's BS. Don't buy into that. It's all, not all of it, but to like a big point, they twist sometimes the reality to appear to be better than they actually are. So yeah, keep doing what you can do, improve on your life, build new skills, face them head on. It's gonna hurt like hell, um, you know, but this is a lot better. This is good, and this is what life is about. It's about reaching something. It's about trying. Even if you fail, you try again. You try and you try and you try, and all of us do that. And if you're out there and you're watching this video, I hope that you do good. Thank you.